Hi there, dear friends. This is Bob Hatton. This is The Encourager. And we have seen now that Jesus has come. This is quite at the beginning of the book of Mark that he starts his gospel and he says, and then came Jesus. This simple sentence that changed my life at least and has also changed the history of mankind. And then came Jesus. And this means there is now hope. We saw that the Old Testament, it finished with disappointment, but the New Testament starts with hope. Jesus has come, and Jesus is probably the most important person in the whole of history. I think I said yesterday the Americans made a film, a Hollywood film, many years ago. We went to see it when I was at school, when I was at the junior school. So I wasn't then 11 years old. That's 60 years ago probably. And I went to see this film, The Greatest Story Ever Told, and it was a story of Jesus. Now we have at the beginning of the New Testament, the first four books, they're four stories of the life of Jesus. Well, actually, it's not just the life of Jesus, or it's not the life of Jesus, it's just his last 3 years. He only lived to about 33 years old, and it's all about his life when he's about 30, maybe 29, to the time when he died. He was buried, he rose from the dead, and he ascended into heaven. Matthew has a little bit, one chapter before he was born, and then one chapter about his birth, or a half of a chapter. And Luke has then, he's got chapter 1, 2, 3 and 4 from 24 chapters where he speaks about the time before Jesus' birth and then his birth. But actually most of these four books are just about the 3 years that Jesus lived as an adult and did his ministry. So they're really only a short excerpt from the greatest man who'd ever lived. Now, we looked yesterday and we had a little glimpse in the book of Matthew, and we found out that Matthew, he was a Jew, and he wrote Matthew's gospel from perspective of a Jewish person, and he was writing it for Jewish readers, and they would find things in the book of Matthew that maybe non-Jews would overlook. So it's especially a good book for them. Now, the next book in the Bible is the book of Mark. Mark is also a Jew, but he doesn't write from a perspective of a Jew. He writes from a perspective of a Roman. And it seems that he's been brought up in Roman culture. His name, Mark, that's a Roman name. Actually his full name was John Mark, and John was his Jewish name, and Mark was his Roman name. And he's known by his Roman name. When you read through the book of Mark, then you find out that there are many words in Mark's gospel that have been translated from Latin. They're Roman words that he uses. They would have been strange for a Jewish audience, but they were well known for people who grew up in a Roman society. So he's telling this. Actually, he's talking about things, what Peter was preaching about, because he accompanied Peter. And a lot of the stories from John's gospel are actually the memoirs of Peter. So that's another thing that we need to remember. Mark's gospel was the first gospel as well. It's the shortest gospel, and it was the first one. And we think that Matthew and also Luke, they had read it, and that gave them a good way to start to write the books. Matthew showed us Jesus the King. And of course, this is one thing that from the Old Testament prophecies, the Jewish people were expecting, that someone would come to sit on the throne of David. So they were expecting the king. And Matthew's saying, this is Jesus. He is the true king. Now, Mark, he doesn't talk about Jesus being a king, but he talks about Jesus being a man. And, we learn this and see this in a number of different places. For instance, in Philippians chapter 2, where it says that he left the glory of heaven and he took on the form of a man and a servant and became obedient even to death on a cross and so on. And these things. Jesus was a man. and he was tired, he was hungry, he was thirsty, and he suffered just like a man. So he is emphasizing this part of Jesus. Matthew emphasized his kingship. Mark emphasizes his humanity. And Mark is also the shortest gospel. He's in a hurry, and one of his favorite words is "and immediately," and then this happened, and then that happened, and it's a fast-paced story. I mean, he's got his foot down. He's going like a Formula One driver, going as fast as he can to get through as many things as he can remember about Jesus. So that's two of the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, and we'll continue this tomorrow. But I hope you have a good day today. God bless you. You're Bob Hatton. You're encourager.